Hi, I'm Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. So I have a little bit different setup here. I don't know if I'm going to stick with this or how I like it just yet. But this doily, I have, I think 3 of these, was handmade by my great aunt, an aunt my mother was very close to, and these were given to her and she gave them to me, and they're very old, so I thought I would put them down as something different, but I have no boundaries. I feel like I have no boundaries. So like I said, we'll see how I like this setup. Anyway, so today I am doing a VR to Nova Luna on your 10 forever cards. And as you saw in December, from just what I showed you in my cabinet, I have a lot of decks. So it was really hard for me to figure out 10 forever cards. So what I did was I pulled out 10 of like my favorite decks, or 10 of the decks I tend to use the most. And I picked a card from each of those, and I'm going to talk about those. So the first card that I'm going to talk about, I couldn't decide between these two. So I picked one from each of the decks. And this is the Devil card. And this is from the Light Seers, and this is from the Dreamkeepers Tarot. These are 2 of my favorite Devil cards ever. And this one is, every time I show this card in any video, I've always talked about how I would gladly take this man's hand and run away with him. Now, why this is significant. This Devil card, when it comes out, and the same thing with this one, because this devil is whispering in her ear and she's just like full of the joy and like, oh yes, tell me more, if you can see the expression on her face. And why these are relevant to me, without divulging all of my past, I had a very tumultuous past relationship that I fell into what the person was telling me, and I took their hand and I went off with them, and it ended up in domestic abuse. So even though I think this Devil card is beautiful, it really does speak to me of that time because of the way these are depicted. And that was many, many years ago in my life, over 30 years ago. So I'm well past speaking of it, feeling it, and I'm past all of that. So I can talk about these Devil cards because of that. And it represents when I didn't follow my own intuition and let myself be led astray by someone or something else. And the road that it took me on, and the spiral that it sent me on, and how much that affected my life, and how out of control my life was, and what it taught me. And boy, this was a heavy card to pick as my first forever card. But there are deep, deep lessons in this Devil card for me, and in these 2 depictions of this Devil card for me. So it is why I wanted to add it to my forever cards. The next card I picked, which is another heavy card, is the Tower. This is my absolute favorite tower, and I kind of picked it because of this and what this represented in my life, because of that incident that I went through. My life blew up, but it's not the only tower moment I've ever had in my life. There was just a year and a half ago, I had a major tower moment in my personal life. And this, the way it's depicted, and this tower being a part of her, not, something where you're looking at a building of people falling out of it, but this tower is actually a part of her, and it's all crumbling apart, and she's trying desperately to hold on to it and maybe keep those pieces together as the foundation is completely erupting. Really represents some things that I have been through in my life and how it stripped that foundation down to nothing and left me with the pieces that I really had to pick up again. And even though that moment is something that may have been happening outside of me, the tower really did affect me within and shook me to my core, which is what it's doing here to her. And so this is my favorite tower, I think, of any deck that I own. And did I say this was Tarot of Mystical Moments? If I didn't, sorry. I think it's so representative of what the energy of the tower really is, because those moments, those tower moments, like I said, even though it may be something happening on the outside of you, this is how you feel on the inside when those tower moments are happening. You're looking for ways to hold on to it, to maybe keep it together, to, hold on to everything that you've built, and you absolutely can't. So this is my favorite tower card. Card or pick 3 comes from the Anna Kay. And this is, I'm picking all these heavy laden cards here, but that's okay. Is the Eight of Swords. And I love the image of this Eight of Swords because of it shows her perfectly fine on the outside. And to look at her, you would never know the turmoil that she's going through on the inside. And I love this because I try to tell my son all the time, you don't know what somebody is going through. Everything looks picture perfect. Everything seems like it is, going great for somebody else. But you don't know what fears and inner demons and negativity or negative talk that these people are putting themselves through every single day. And I love that because it really represents how much is below the surface that we have absolutely no idea about in regards to other people. Even what is curated on social media. It looks like these people that we follow have these certain types of lives, and you're just seeing this tiny little glimpse of them. And there's this whole other aspect of this Eight of Swords and this fear, their own inner fears and cages that they have put themselves in, and protected themselves with for so long. I think the perfect depiction of an Eight of Swords. So card number 4 comes from the Touchstone Tarot, and that is this Eight of Wands. Every time I look at this Eight of Wands, I crack up. And this is my absolute, I think, favorite that I could think of, Eight of Wands in any deck. Because just look at her face. She's looking up at these 8 wands flying at her and has that, oh shit, look on her face. And it cracks me up every time I look at it of, oh my God, what is coming next? What is flying in my direction? What am I going to do with this? Oh my God, that's what I think of every single time I look at this. And really, I read this card in that manner when I'm using this deck, rather than how I might read a different Eight of Wands from another deck. It's an, oh my God moment. Look out at what's coming. She's just minding her own business, sitting here reading her scroll, and here come these 8 wands just flying at her. I love it. This is really my favorite. Card number 5 comes from the Sasurabito Tarot, and that is this 6 of Swords. This 6 of Swords came out constantly, first of all, when I used this deck, and it's exactly how I have felt many, many, many times, where you feel like you are drowning. There are all these things that are poking and prodding you, maybe keeping you underwater, and you are just desperate for a breath of air, desperate to come up above the waterline, to breathe for a minute. So overwhelmed, so maybe stuck in a difficult situation that you just feel like you can't breathe. But this 6 of Swords gives you that breath of air. It gives you that moment to realize that you don't have to keep yourself underwater anymore. You can come up now. You can move on, breathe, and not stay in that place of drowning any longer. And like I said, this card comes out a lot when I was using this deck. This deck, I think I've said before, is very shadow driven for me. So card number 6 comes from the Superlunaris Spark edition, and that is this Magician card. This Magician card is everything to me. I love this card so freaking much. I can feel myself being her. I can feel myself sitting there with all my spell ingredients, intention work, whatever, in front of me, conjuring up that energy to work with it, to work with what I have in front of me, to make something from that energy. I can just feel it. This card pulsates for me when I use this deck, and it comes out. It adds a whole other level to a reading for me because of how I feel about this Magician card. I can embody her, and I feel like I am her. And like I said, I can see myself. I have everything here and available to work with. All I need to do is manipulate it into the form that I want it to become. And so yes, I love this card. My next forever card comes from the Tarot of the Witch's Garden. And that is this Eight of Pentacles. I love this card so much. I think this is just so sweet, where you have this older woman teaching these children how to weave their own pentacle, learning from her, passing down her wisdom to them. And I love that. She's not only perfecting, or she has perfected her craft to the point that she is ready to, share it and teach that younger generation so they can learn and keep working at it to perfect it also. I love that sharing of and teaching that younger generation. And this is one of my favorite cards. It was hard because I like a lot of the cards in Tarot of the Witch's Garden, but this is one of my favorites from there. Another favorite is from another witchy deck, and this is from the Green Witch Tarot. I drew a blank there for a minute, and that is the Queen of Wands. Every time I use the Green Witch Tarot, the Queen of Wands comes out for me every single time. And I almost feel like, even though she's sitting there with her wand up, she's like, come here, sweetie, come here, sit down beside me. Let me tell you, let me explain to you. And she just has so much to say to me. I have actually, matter of fact, taken this card out of the deck and sat it and spoke to it. Okay, what is it that you need to speak to me about? What is it that I am missing? What is it that you are, what knowledge are you wanting to pass down to me? And then done a whole reading with her in the center of it. She tends to step forward for me or start showing up in readings for me when I'm using that deck. When I am thinking about a new creative project or starting a new creative endeavor of some kind, or when I am ready to step into that magician energy and start, working with some energy and doing some intention work and stuff like that. She tends to come through or start popping up in multiple readings. And when she does, I know that I need to pull this card out and work with her. And like I said, put her in the center and see what she has to speak to me about. Does anybody else do that? When you get the same repetitive card coming out, do you ever pull it out of the deck and ask, okay, what do you need to teach me? What is it that you're trying to say to me? Especially like if it's the court cards. I'm just curious to know. Let me know. Another witchy deck, because I love my witchy decks, and they weren't included in any of my deck show and tell in December because they're all on the bookshelf. But this is from the Cozy Witch Tarot, which is new. However, this sun card is everything to me. Everything. I can see myself in that dress. And while I don't wear hats, I can see myself in that hat in a sunflower field. I mean, I could just see myself in this card. This card makes me so happy. And usually I'm just meh about the sun cards in the deck. But there is something, just something special about this one and the energy from this one that makes me happy, brings me that joy, and like it says, give yourself permission to experience joy. I feel that in every aspect of this card, and so it is my absolute, I think, favorite sun card, and I enjoy this Cozy Witch Tarot so much. And want to work with it more because I didn't get enough of it in the fall because I got it in late and only used it a little. But I love this deck so much. And I love the affirmations or the sentences or whatever on the deck also. But yeah, I can embody this sun energy from this card completely. And so my final, I guess, forever card of my favorite decks comes from the Dreamkeepers Tarot. And that is another difficult card. And it is the Three of Swords. And what I like about this Three of Swords is that she has no head. That is my absolute favorite part of this card because it's like, where is your head? Where is it in this whole painful energy? You've lost your head over this whole entire situation is how I read this Three of Swords card. And if anybody doesn't have this deck, the guidebook for the Dreamkeepers Tarot is, I think, off the charts fantastic. But this card really speaks of that loss. And how I see it is without the head being there while she's cradling or holding her heart with the swords and she's holding on to that pain, it was so great that it was hard for her to even comprehend with the loss of the head. And without her head being there, so where does she go from here? What does she do from here? What does she ask? What are her questions now? Where is her life headed after experiencing this pain and this and that dynamic of loss? What happens next? Can she even fathom what happens next? Because again, the head is missing, and that, I think, speaks volumes in this card and really made me see the Three of Swords in a completely different way. So these are my 10 forever cards from my favorite tarot decks. And even though I chose some of the more, I guess, heavy hitters or difficult cards, each one of these cards has shown me a different aspect, I guess, to the meaning, or illuminated a certain aspect of the meaning to me, and tend to come out a lot when I use those certain decks. And even though there are some of the heavier cards in here, like the Three of Swords and the Devil and the Tower, they all mean something to me and strike me in a certain way because of things that I've been through in my life. And I can take those moments and bring that experience from those moments to a reading and use that in my knowledge base for the reading also. So thanks to Nova Luna for putting out this tag. I really did enjoy watching the videos on these tags and seeing what people chose or why they chose certain cards. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And until I see you next time, bye.